I was choosing a shirt to wear today because if you watch this channel, you know that I basically have gotten in the routine of I record my video right after I shower in the evening, and I got to put on a shirt and some gym shorts. And this shirt is very near and dear to me. I don't know if it's flipped on the camera or what, but it says ASU, which is Arizona State University. I did not go to Arizona State University, but I lived near it for a portion of my life. And I'm going to close the windows because there's police cars going crazy out there and it's quite distracting. But I lived near ASU for some time. And I'm not an Arizona native. I was born and raised in California, actually, in Long Beach, California, my whole childhood. And I moved to New York for college. I did university in New York. When I graduated, I moved to Scottsdale, Arizona. And I remember when I first moved there, I moved to North Scottsdale. And I remember I got a one-bedroom apartment. It was, oh my God, it was so cheap compared to today's economy and New York. I think my one-bedroom apartment was like just over $1,000. And I lived like a king in there. I remember I even had my own washer and dryer, which if you live in New York, you know you don't get that. So, oh my God. One of the things I'm worried about on this channel is like, I try to be as vulnerable as I can with myself and with others, because I think I didn't learn it from Brené Brown, but one of the things she says and one of the things she talks about is to be vulnerable is to be truly strong. What does it even mean to be vulnerable? It means, I think, exposing the parts of you that contain the most shame, that contain the most fear. And instead of pushing them away forever, bringing them up and out, even showing them to people who you love. And you do it knowing that you might have a belief that it's completely unlovable and it's shameful and it has no place in this world, this aspect of you, this part of you. But you do it. And that's what I think it means to be vulnerable. The vulnerabilities and the vulnerable feelings are those feelings that no one wants to talk about. Like when I go on YouTube and I look at every creator or so many other creators, I'm not even going to focus on YouTube. I mean, we could just focus on, I don't have Instagram anymore. I've deleted it. I deleted it like, I don't know, years and years ago. I'm 27. I haven't had it for years. But I remember getting pulled into this way of living of like, and I don't think it's a surprise to anyone that there is this way of living, which is like wanting to show the best aspect of oneself. Wanting to be liked. And that's really at the root of it. I mean, and that's the vulnerability. Like you just want to be liked. You just want to be loved. Or even maybe even deeper is you're scared of being not liked or scared of being not loved because it's terrifying. And so, I say all of that because I think that vulnerability is totally, it's not talked about in our culture, that's for sure, or many cultures. I think that vulnerability as a topic for a man is traditionally emasculating as fuck. I still remember years ago, I did therapy in secret. I couldn't let anyone know. I wouldn't let anyone know. I mean, I would have to be, at the time, I would think, everyone would think I'm a fucking bitch. Everyone would think I'm a bitch. Everyone would think I'm something's wrong with me. I'm not manly enough. I'm not masculine enough. It's very sad. But vulnerability is something hard, and I know it's hard for women too, to be totally vulnerable. I mean, both of the genders have it bad. And where I was going with this was, I'm worried that a part of me is worried that, I talk about I want to talk about my vulnerabilities often. And sometimes, and I guess this is vulnerable in and of itself, but I guess I'm worried if maybe it'll be too much for people. Maybe it'll be too off-putting for some people. Maybe it'll be like, maybe it'll be so foreign. And it'll just be like, oh man, Tino's being negative. Well, it's like, well, what if these are the actual thoughts that go on in my head? I don't believe that other people, I don't believe that it's unique. I don't. I think there's coping mechanisms. I think there's ways to rationalize these feelings, to not actually confront them. But it's not unique. And so I went down that little rabbit hole because I wore my little shirt today, and I didn't even do it for any purpose. I just saw it, and I haven't worn it in so long, and I said, yes, I want to wear my ASU shirt. I miss it. So I lived in Arizona for a few years, then I moved back to New York for work. And oh man, what a time in Arizona. What a time. It was the best of times, it was the worst of times. I think that's Charles Dickens. It truly was the best of times, it was the worst of times. I mean, I do not have higher. No, actually I've had very high highs this year. But I had such extreme highs and I had such extreme lows. Extreme. And I remember when I first moved there, I moved to North Scottsdale, right outside of the 101. If you live there, it's like there's this freeway that goes up all the way from, I think, Chandler or Mesa, and it goes up to Tempe, and then it goes through Scottsdale, and then turns west. So it goes from south to north, 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 and then curves west. I was right outside of that bend in this little area called DC Ranch. And I remember I lived in this apartment complex called Desert Parks Vista. And I moved there alone. I still remember when my parents helped move me in. We all drove from Long Beach together. My parents helped me move in. And then on the last day, they rented this like red minivan. Like they drove a red minivan from Long Beach, rented from Hertz or whatever. And I drove my car because I was going to keep it in Arizona. And I packed my car with a bunch of things. My parents packed their car with a bunch of things. Like they had I got this rug on sale, and it just went all the way through the van, like right over whatever. It was just through the van. All my stuff was in there. And they'd moved me in, and it was July of 2020. It was right in the middle of COVID. I was starting my job shortly. And I remember, I was moving in. It was awesome. I had this great big 1-bedroom because it's the desert and it's the outside of the 101 where there's tons of space. And I was excited. And I remember before they, like the night before they left, like I had my first, we stayed in a hotel like 2 nights, and then I had a night in my apartment, and then the next day they came and we had coffee and they left. But before they left, they left my apartment to go back to their hotel. And I closed the door and I sat on my couch, and I just had this eerie feeling. It felt so eerie. So I went into my bedroom, and it was my first time truly living alone. And I'm scared of the dark. I'm scared of ghosts. And I remember I went into my bedroom, laid in my bed, and I felt so profoundly alone in that moment. This isn't even like we haven't even hit the peak yet, but I remember I felt so profoundly alone in that moment, and it was the weirdest experience, because I had two older brothers growing up. I had I had roommates all throughout college. Now I have my own apartment, my own apartment, and it's big, and it's in the middle of the desert, and it's in the middle of COVID, in a place I truly have never even been to. There's no one I know around me. It's quiet. It's quiet. And I'm alone. I guess you could say that my parents lived like, I think it's 7 hours by car. It's not across the world. I could fly on Southwest for $45 or 45 minutes. It's not the same. It truly that was a moment that I knew I'd never forget for the rest of my life. And so I just honestly I just tried to get to bed because it was frightening. I woke up. Me and my parents had lunch. And it was so cheap. Oh my God. I mean, everything's gotten so expensive no matter where you are. But I remember in 2020, before COVID and before the like everything got more expensive, we went to this place. I'm trying to remember. Maybe it's like Moe's or something like that. Moes. Moe apostrophe s. Possessive. And it was delicious food, first of all, and we had a pretty sizable lunch. I mean, we each had an entree, and each entree I remember, was like $8, $9, which does not happen anymore. And then my dad paid the bill. He dropped me off. My parents said, okay, we're going to leave now. I'm getting emotional even talking about it, because it was, I'm putting myself back in the position of Tino at that time. And holy fuck, like, that was an overwhelming feeling. I'll never forget, and I have goosebumps, and I can feel the tears welling up. I'll never forget how scared I was, how scared a part of me was, or parts of me. When I hugged my mom, I said, I love you. I hugged my dad. I held him tight. I said, I love you. They got into their little red van, and they drove out the parking lot, or like the parking, fenced in parking area for the little, like, garden style apartment situation. I saw them drive down, and then they turned left, because there's a gate right there. They turned left, they turned left, they turned left. And I didn't see the van anymore. I was alone. They were gone. It was very scary. I think I still had another couple days till I started work. I didn't know what I was going to do. I didn't know anyone. Everything was closed. I mean, Arizona was actually quite open, but it wasn't open. I think I just went inside and sat on my couch, and I think I just called my older brother. And I was so bored. And that day lasted forever. I remember that weekend before I started work, right after my parents left and right before I started work, it lasted forever. I didn't know what to do. I was so bored. I think I was just like pacing in my apartment. Thank God I had work. I would have, it wouldn't have been good. Work was a major stabilizer. You say what you want about it. It was good for me at that time, especially. I went into the office a few times. I think I was in the office like once a week at that time. And just having the interactions with other people made me feel so much less alone. And yesterday I was talking about like existential aloneness. Not that type of alone. Like, I'm talking about lonely. I'm not talking about like existential, like all aloneness. I'm talking about like, man, it is lonely here. It is lonely. I don't know anyone. I'm alone. Yeah, man, what a trip. That was truly, that was a tough time. That was truly a tough time in my life. And I remember I just had like the best COVID break ever. Like I was living at home. Like my school kicked me out because of COVID. Like they said, you got to get out of here. And I remember I left to go to Long Beach in March, and basically from March to July, it was just like a summer. Me just with my parents, and it was amazing. And it all just, at the time, it just came screeching to a halt. I mean, how it's very sad. And, you know, maybe, I think you could probably relate to it. Something is so good, it comes to an end, and then life changes very fast. It's not easy. And I don't think, you know, looking back on it, looking back at Tino at that time, I don't think I gave myself, and I still don't think I gave myself enough credit for all of that. You know, like I'm sure, you know, there's wars in other parts of the country or other parts of the world. There's bombings. There's murder. There's horrible things in the world where people truly, they're experiencing things so much more, so inhumane, that a part of me feels like I don't have the right to just talk about my experience and how I felt, but that was my experience, and that's how I felt. And talking in front of the camera right now makes me realize I had left so much of it in the past for a reason. I mean, it's painful in some ways to relive, but there's also such a profound beauty to it. I think that is like the true definition of bittersweet. It's really, I think life is tough. Life is challenging. That's what I'm learning. Life is challenging. There's no shortage of challenges. Right once you get through one, you're not out of the woods because there's another one coming. But yeah, what a beautiful time. So much has changed. So much has changed since that beautiful time. We've grown. We've changed. Maybe we're a different person. Would the people who we loved and who we had in our life at that time still recognize us today? Would they be proud of us? Would they like us? Would we like who we've turned into? I don't know. I really don't know. So, to make a long story short, to say the least, I needed to move the hell out of that apartment. It was in the middle of nowhere. And so, if you remember my little diagram of the 101, I moved straight south to this little city called Tempe because there was a lake there. And I don't live near the beach. I actually don't even like going to the beach. But I was a rower and I was always around water in my life. So I wanted to be around water. And there was this lake called Tempe Town Lake. And it was beautiful. And I actually, if you've noticed, my YouTube channel starts with video 5. That means I had videos 1, 2, 3, and 4 that I never uploaded. Video 4, I think it was actually video 3, it was 8 minutes long. And I just talked about the feelings of being next to Tempe Town Lake and looking out of my window and how it reminds me in some way about Tempe Town Lake. And what a time that was. And so I was on ASU, if Tempe Town Lake on a map like spans west to east, Tempe Town Lake is on like the west side into the south. Or I'm sorry, yeah, ASU is to the west and south of Tempe Town Lake, and I live to the north and kind of to the east. So this was the configuration. There's a good amount of space between us. But of course, I mean, it was college-ish around there. It was way more on the south side, but I mean, the north side, it's near the south side. And I remember there was a Chipotle on the south side in like kind of the college town. And I remember one of my favorite things in the summer was to drive. Oh my God, I want to save this for another video. I want to save it for another video because it's so beautiful. But yeah, I lived near ASU. And I cherish this shirt. It reminds me of beautiful times. Would I go back? No. I'm happy with where I am. But I'll never forget those times. I'll always be thankful. It shaped me. And the people who I met, people whose lives intersected with mine, I'm forever grateful for them. And the past is beautiful right where it is. And there's no need to change that. So that's it for today. It's already 11. I literally didn't sleep last night, so I'm gonna stop recording and upload this to my video or to my computer. Anyway, have a good night. Oh, if you like this, please feel free to subscribe. And that's it. Thank you.